In the movie The Matrix, the machines enslaved human beings and placed them into these pods where their brains were hooked up to this virtual reality illusory world called the Matrix. This was done in order to keep human beings immobilized enough so that they can be used as a form of battery power to provide the machines with a source of energy. When one of these humans was no longer a viable source of energy, they were unplugged by the machines and flushed out of their pod into the sewage system. Conventional wisdom says that if we jump through all of the hoops presented to us by society, work really hard and save our money, then retirement will finally bring freedom. Time to relax, pursue our passions, and live life on our own terms. But if that's the case, why do so many retirees feel lost, unfulfilled, and sink into accelerated decline? In this video, I explain how retirement, despite its promises of freedom, is actually more like the big flush in the Matrix. Stick around to find out why, how to actually avoid the flush, and instead free yourself to live a life of true happiness and purpose. Hello, welcome back to the channel. My name is Jose De Castro, and I'm a psycho-spiritual life coach that helps conscious entrepreneurs discover unconscious barriers to change and success while facilitating individuation and spiritual growth. So let's get straight to it. So once again, in the Matrix movie, human beings were enslaved by the machines, placed in pods, hooked up to a virtual reality world to keep them immobile so that they can be used as a source of energy. When a human being was no longer a viable source of energy, they were unplugged and they were flushed out of their pods into the sewage system, discarded like waste. Similar to the Matrix, we are also trapped by social conditioning to stay in our pods, so to speak, the pods of our comfort zone, where we follow the conventional path of the 9-to-5 grind. But at the end of our useful years, after we have given all of the best of our energy and our time, we are then retired, which I'm going to argue is much like the idea of being flushed out of the pod and into the sewage system. Now, in the movie, there were only two ways out of this pod and out of the Matrix itself. The number one and most common way was for the machines to choose when it is that they wanted to pull the plug on you and flush you out, because you were no longer a viable energy source. But there was also a second and a more rare way, a path that not many people actually took, and that was to unplug and free yourself. So let's start off by talking about how retirement, unlike the promises of freedom, is more like the big flush in the Matrix. The first reason why the retirement promise is more like the big flush in the Matrix is because retirement was never meant to be a prolonged episode in a person's life. The reason that I say that is that when the age of 65 was originally chosen in the late 1800s in Germany and in the early 1900s in the United States as the time for, or the age for retirement, that age was not picked because the government or your employers were coming together and asking the question, when would be the best time to reward people for all of their years of hard work? The reason why age 65 was actually chosen was because the average life expectancy was 60 years of age. So if you actually sit down and do the math, you begin to realize that age 65 was chosen because not many people were actually expected to live that long in order to collect a pension. So in other words, the retirement age of 65 was not chosen because it was the time that you would be expected to start living your life. It was chosen because you were expected to already be dead. The other reason why I say that retirement is more like the big flush in the Matrix rather than a time to start living a life of freedom and happiness is because retirement does not actually bring about happiness or fulfillment. it actually accelerates your mental and physical decline. Right now, I'd like to look at 5 ways in which retirement actually accelerates your physical and mental decline. The first way is that it brings about a lack of mental stimulation. So when you're working your job, you're involved in the idea of decision making, problem solving, and learning new skills, all of which keep the mind mentally engaged and keeps it more functionally youthful. Once people retire without finding alternatives to keep them mentally engaged and stimulated, they will find that they suffer cognitive decline over time. It's the idea of use it or lose it. The second way that retirement actually accelerates one's decline is that with retirement comes decreased physical activity. So when a person is working, at the very least, they are commuting to work or walking around the office. But retirement can lead to a more sedentary lifestyle, which brings its own associated health risks, such as obesity and cardiovascular disease. The third way that retirement accelerates one's decline is through the loss of purpose and identity. Work provides a sense of purpose, achievement, and contribution. When people retire without finding a new purpose, a void sets in which contributes to and leads to depression and anxiety. Research shows that purpose-driven individuals are generally happier, healthier, and more resilient to decline. The fourth way that retirement brings about accelerated decline is through social isolation. Work provides a sense where people can have friendships, build connections, and find a support group. But if a person retires without actually finding ways in which they can actively engage with other people, it brings about a sense of loneliness which accelerates one's decline. And the fifth way that retirement actually accelerates one's decline is that with retirement comes a loss of routine and structure. So work provides a rhythm to one's life that once you retire and you lose that rhythm, it leads to poor sleep hygiene, poor eating habits, which basically leads to a sense of aimlessness. So far, I've only talked about the fact that retirement is a trap. It's like the big flush in the matrix because it brings about the acceleration of your physical and mental decline. But what's at stake here is much bigger than just that, because what's at stake is also the idea of spiritual stagnation. You see, there is no spiritual growth without individuation. And individuation is just a fancy term coined by Carl Jung that refers to the idea of becoming aware of and freeing oneself of social conditioning in order to uncover and embody more of your true, authentic self. I'm going to argue that if you can make it all the way through to retirement working a job that you hate, it means that you've never actually taken the step of courage in the direction of personal autonomy and sovereignty. It means that you've never actually taken steps in the direction of individuation. Carl Jung once said, "The world will ask you who you are, and if you don't know, the world will tell you." So who you are in this phrase is referring to your true self, your true gifts and talents, which you are meant to discover and embody through the process of individuation. The problem is that most of us, in the absence of knowing who we truly are, instead of embarking upon that individuation journey to find and embody what that is, we allow the world to tell us who we are. And that's not the truth of who we are, but it's the lie of what they want us to be so that we can be used as a source of energy. So what is the solution? Remember I said that there were only 2 ways out of the matrix? The first and the most common way is to give your life to the matrix until the machines realize that you're no longer viable, at which point they will unplug you and they will flush you out of your pod into the sewage system. The second way is much less common, and that is to do what Neo did, to unplug yourself. And how do you unplug yourself? Through entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship not only allows you to unplug yourself thus freeing yourself from the retirement trap that leads to mental and physical decline. But entrepreneurship is also an excellent vehicle for individuation. So first of all, it has to be said that entrepreneurship frees you from the retirement trap of accelerated decline, because with entrepreneurship, if you can find yourself doing something you love to do and make money from that, then you can build yourself a life that you don't need to escape from. So you don't feel the pressure to want to actually stop working altogether because you're so sick and fed up of it. Instead, you can find yourself doing something that actually contributes to the idea of more decision making, of learning new skills, of actually keeping your mind engaged and keeping you doing things that you feel happy and fulfilled doing. Something that gives you a sense of purpose, identity, and overall structure in your life. So as you can see, entrepreneurship can actually hold back the acceleration of physical and mental decline, but how does it actually facilitate spiritual growth through individuation? Here are 5 quick ways that it does that. Number 1, it promotes authentic self-expression. When you're working for someone else, you don't have that much freedom with what you can do and how you can express your true self. In entrepreneurship, it's all you. In entrepreneurship, you are actually able to find out who you are and express the truth of who you are through what it is you do and how you interface with your clients and your employees. Reason number 2 is that entrepreneurship helps you to confront inner barriers. So entrepreneurship brings about its own set of challenges, which allows fears, insecurities, self-doubt, and limitations to boil up to the surface, where they have to be looked at and alchemized, transformed from obstacles into stepping stones. Reason number 3 is that it builds autonomy. Taking full responsibility for your business and your life builds the idea of independence, self-trust, and decision-making. Reason number 4 is that entrepreneurship promotes purpose and impact. Entrepreneurs often want to have a meaningful impact on the world, which requires the ability to clarify our purpose and align ourselves with our vision, all of which supports self-actualization. Reason number 5 is that entrepreneurship helps you as a conscious entrepreneur to redefine the idea of success. Rather than believing the world's idea of success as merely money or material possessions, we come to see success as a life that is in alignment with who we truly are, knowing that being on the path of spiritual progress and individuation is itself success, and all of the trappings of success, i.e. the money and the material possessions, will come as a result of living a life of true alignment. So as you can see through those 5 reasons, entrepreneurship makes an excellent vehicle or a great application for your spiritual growth and your evolution. But don't get me wrong, it's not easy. It takes a great deal of courage to question the status quo and to step outside of consensus reality into your own individuation path. But just like Neo, who when he unplugged himself, came to realize that up till that point he had never ever had a reason to use his muscles, it's not going to be easy to do. The path of entrepreneurship and individuation will uncover a lot of your self-doubt and your limitations, but it's the first step in the process of becoming a more fully autonomous and sovereign being. So remember, there's only 2 ways out of the matrix. The vast majority of people believe the lie told them by the matrix and assume that freedom begins at age 65 when they retire or whenever that retirement age comes for them. On the other hand, you can choose to unplug from the matrix and step onto the path of individuation through conscious entrepreneurship. Here's the thing. Freedom, my friend, is not something that is given to you. Freedom is only real when you choose it for yourself. Hey friend, if you watched this long, I'd like to thank you for your attention. Please like, subscribe, and comment. And if you want some more content, here's another video you might like. Here's a playlist that might interest you, and subscribe for more.